Okay, good afternoon, everybody. And it's time for another thrilling game of pinball. And let's see where we are and just quick overview of what's going on here. Okay, so as most of you know, we opened up, we stalled. Where's today? Yeah, we stalled pretty much as we got close to the whale short call strike. We kind of stalled, got the mean reversion, then started to go down. That was like 10 o'clock. I guess that was the ISM numbers, whichever numbers we had. Coinciding with that, if you see here, where's VIX? There's VIX. You see, we had a VIX spike. Where's today? We had a VIX spike over 18, and that's when we went down. And basically, if you followed the day, VIX over under 18 was pretty much an inflection point or a turn, or as we approached 18, the market maker hedging requires them to buy VX futures, which then tumbles into the SPX complex and vice versa. And then when we pulled away, they had to sell the VX futures, which then added a little. Is this the right one? Or is this the right one? That's the right one. Okay. So let's just take a quick look at VIX over here. And now we're under 18, and so now we're getting this kind of move. Now we're getting a little move up. So as we approach 18, you get the market maker buying the futures because market makers are short there, and vice versa on the other side. Okay, a few other interesting things. As most of you know who are playing this game, um, I really wasn't aware that the VX futures were delayed data, but I'm not really using it to make real time decisions. When I do that, I look at my Thinkorswim. I'm just using it more for after the market or just to see the patterns. But thanks. And I don't know if I had VX futures on there. I think I just had VIX and VALI and other things. I'll double check. Thank you. I know I paid for the E-mini futures. I'm not sure what I pay for. So anyway, today was unusual in IC whale land, and most of you know the IC whale was here. Now we had about 10,000 contracts short at 50 at 62.95, with most of them being 95.90 and about 2,000 of them being 95.85, a 10 wide and a 5 wide, same story on top. Now, an interesting thing happened on the way to the whale pod. Usually, the IC whale does not close. He leaves it and does a martingale simulation and just leaves it. If he loses, he doubles up. However, if you look up here, the 63.55s are gone. When we were down, and I have the timestamp somewhere, he bought back his short calls. Kind of a a change in his mechanics. Now, I always kid him on Twitter. I text him and I mess with him. I told him, "Oh, good, you finally followed my advice." Because I typically do the same with similar trades when he does them, and I usually buy the clothes each side separately, and I've never had a loss yet. I've never had to, quote unquote, martingale, if you manage it right. So maybe he learned. Okay. And on the put side, there were 10,000 over here, and now there's only 1,800. And the other interesting thing is here we have a 1 by 2, almost as if he bought back half, bought back more over here than he left, and forming a 1 by 2, forming a, so what he has there right now. Whoops, we don't want to mess with Google. I was just looking at that before. There was some big Google trades that came in for August monthly, 200s. So what he has is a 1 by 2. That's basically a freebie trade. I think he left it for some kind of, for whatever reason. I think. I could be wrong. It's basically a free trade. Okay. That said, let's get back to where we are. So the question is, where are we going to pin? And we were talking about it in the room. Um, earlier it looked like somewhere between 90, 95, somewhere between here and 10, 15, but kind of between 90 and 10 were the main suspects. At the end of the day, things have changed. Oh, we got a bear in the house. And a lot of that's going to depend on IV. And so we have a path up, and these have been flipping back and forth between long and short all day, and now these are long. So long market makers hedge in that direction. Short, as we go down, they they buy, but then as we move away, they sell. So that kind of would be creating a choppy action here. However, when we look at the deltas of these two combined, and let's go back over here and take a quick look, just for fun, as I like to say. We'll find that basically the combined deltas of this cancel each other out. A 16 or a 17 and two nines. If anything, it's slightly more on the on the negative deltas, on the put deltas, and on the call. But you see, it's even. So what does that mean? That means that this is not going to have a lot of an effect because this kind of is self-hedging almost. Okay. So now let's get to over here. You see, we had 10,000 here at one point. See the line here? We had 10,000, and now we have roughly 2,000. We had 10,000, now we have double what we have there. And now the 10 wides, interestingly enough, have been completely closed. There's nothing down there at 85. You watching, David? DM me. And on top, the 55s. Still have a few shorts there, but we went long there for a minute. Oh, here's market maker long, and now these are sold. So where do we pin? Trust your eye. Your eye is a good filter. We pin between 95, 305, 310, and all the way up here, 330, which ain't gonna happen. Somebody came in, I forget what time they came in, and sold a five wide 63.30, 63.35 credit spread. And so on top, we don't have a clear boundary. We don't have a clear one of these. I mean, we have it up there. So now let's look at, okay, so now let's just kind of build a few. Let's play Build a Bear. So one kind of obvious, easy fly would be something like that. Expensive. Another fly to take advantage of this level would be something like this. So if we go below, actually looks interesting. I'll throw 60 cents at it. Let's see how that plays out. Pardon me for chomping. But really, I think an '05 pin, but that's expensive. Even if we play for a 10 pin, not terribly expensive. I don't really have that much conviction for the going up to 10. Well, that's a mess. This is this is an old chart when I used to be into my TA in my youth. Williams percent R, DMI, all these crazy bands. I don't roll like that anymore, but I used to before I grew up. But that's I just wanted to see what VIX was doing. Not that you can see anything with all this silliness on the chart. It's a little better. I'm not sure what these lines are. Okay. So VIX has been driving the bus. Like I said in my note, as VIX approaches 18, there's going to be selling. As VIX comes down towards 17, there's going to be buying. Over under is going to be real important. We kept on getting close to 17 and not making it. Also, we had that McMillan VIX spike peak buy signal when we go down from a local peak and close 3 points lower, which we did. We closed, I can't find it here. We closed at VIX was at 17 this morning. Or not this morning, here it is. Here was the local peak, and then we were down here at 17 somewhere. That was the VIX spike peak buy signal from Guru McMillan. Okay, so with VIX going up like this into the close, I think we could probably expect the more bearish pin. Let's get some participation from the audience. Where are we? Oh, two. Let's go back to over here. So we got a little bit of support from here, but like I said before, the deltas are basically meaningless between these and these, between the one long, one short, and one market maker long and two short. So let's go to the actual charm chart. So we're in this whole suppressive charm area. See a little peekaboo opening up here at '05. We have another little peekaboo at 6,300. 6,300 would be a reasonable place to pin also. Now, what I've noticed, and this is just sort of anecdotal, we often pin on, this is tomorrow, we often pin near one of these, near a path of least resistance or a key level for tomorrow's expiration. This is upcoming. See all this red here, so it can go anywhere. Okay, now this is a group participation exercise. Anyone here? Anyone want to jump on the stage? If you want to talk or ask questions, but at least type something in there. The last number we had was down there. Final answer? Okay, so right now this is saying below '05 and above 95. So 6,300 would be a pretty likely pin. I'd like it to be a few points lower since I bought that cheapie. Yeah. Now what do we have at 6,300? Yeah, 6,300 looks pretty good. Oh, 97. Yeah. Now I kind of like that better because we tend to close. We have 6,300s and 6,297s. We tend to close below a market maker long strike. But do we have a market maker long strike at 6,300? What do we have there? Let's take a look. Yes, we do. So, according to this, we'd be more likely to close at 63.01 or '02 than to break below here. So, between these two, or between here and here. Okay, let me uh, let me go back and give the brief overview. Whoops, where is it? Okay. The way you use a format, I'm just going to give the simple functional. We're not going to go into all the theory and stuff. the practical application is the dark color, the mustard, whatever you want to call it, is suppressive charm. So market makers would be selling as we headed up into there. The blue is supportive. Same thing on the bottom. We never close, or we're not supposed to close, although occasionally we do, on one of these strikes on a 60, on a market maker long where we have the the suppressive color. And so that's how you read it. You see, okay, where are we likely to go? And here you see we have a pretty wide zone. What's over here is not very supportive. It's basically a nothing burger. Well, there's your 97 and a half. Yeah, there's your 97 and a half. And now it's starting to open up as people are buying and selling. Did that answer your question? Maybe in a simple way, but at least you have an idea what you're looking at. So this is decay. As this decays to a minus one delta, and decay means just the change of delta because of the passage of time. So if you have an option that's, say, at the money or near the money, that's a 60 delta, at the end of the day, it's going to either be a zero or a one. Either it's going to be in the money or out of the money. And the options that are close have the most chance of flipping like that or will flip like that, where the ones that are far away don't have any delta to begin with. So the idea is that this is suppressive and it becomes a minus one delta, and we close below it, and below it becomes a positive delta, and it pushes us up somewhere in here. Good, good. Thank you. Glad that worked. But now the other fly in the ointment or turd in the punch bowl, depending how you want to look at it, is at the end of the day, like, well, always during the day, but even more so at the end of the day. Let's look at this. There's a lot of back and forth buying of near the money options. So I don't know that we can rely on these staying here, but with 3,400 there, there's a good chance that that stays. So there's sold calls up here, negative deltas, and there's also bought puts up here. Oh no, there's bought calls. Let's see, we'll go take a look at that. It doesn't really matter what the deltas are from. And so looking at, well, we could break 6,300 because this is not very much, 350 contracts. That's easily traded in and out of over the next 5 minutes. These, he's probably leaving, but like we said, there's really no, because it's a five wide and because it's a one by two, there's basically very little to no hedging requirements. And True looking like a 6,300 pin or a 97. If this would just clear away, or if IV would expand, then when IV expands, the local effects of the gamma are minimized. The analogy that Volsig uses to explain it, and it worked for me. If you think of volatility or vega as a substitute for time, the longer time you have, the more expected move you have, right? SPX between now and December can move more than SPX between now and the close. Volatility is the same thing as time because volatility vega is the standard deviation of the expected move. And the expected move expands with time or with volatility. So what that does in effect is it makes the expected move here wide enough that you can go right through it. That's the way I like to understand it. It looks like it's a 6,300. It's either going to be just over or just under. Let's see how that little lotto is doing. What did we pay for it? We. How much did we pay for it? Let me see. We paid 70 cents. Okay. Cheap enough. And for this to pay at all, it needs to be okay. Here we are at 99.96, just below that number. Like we said, we got few winners or potential winners. This is sort of not likely, but possible. There, I could get out for my 70 cents if I wanted. Now we're at 80 cents. I'm going to put in $1.70. If somehow I get lucky, I'm perfectly willing to lose 70 bucks. I'm also perfectly willing to make 100 bucks. Market on close, 1 billion to buy. We got a 95. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Now these are $2, and this is basically nothing. Got my buck 70, made $100. Probably could have made more, could have made a few hundred more, but I suck at holding on to long trades. Okay, it was buck 70, now it's a buck 35, now it's 95. Okay, yay me. Now we're back. So we're going to be, we usually don't close on the number. We're usually going to be a point above or a point below. I would, because I'm a cowboy. We can take a look at something for tomorrow. Let's take a look for tomorrow. First thing I'm going to do to look for tomorrow is let's look what's going on for tomorrow over here. So we have sold puts. Okay, down here 61.85, 61.75, all this crap down here. So let's take a look. Then I gotta go. I got ready. I put the thing in there. Scott Nations and I are going to be doing a whatever you want to call it, webinar, podcast. I don't know what you call it. One of these on Twitter and YouTube tomorrow. And I guess I have to. All right. So where do we see those? 85 looks good. Is there any juice at 85? Minimal. Expect to move 38. So let's double that. Let's call it 75, which would put us in the low 6200s. So let's go see what that pays. Not enough. Gotta go with the round number. What's going on here at 6200? Nothing. 85 is where the action is. But there's a lot of positive, market maker positive there. So, no juice. So I mean, I'd sell down. I'd sell down here. 6200, gun to the head. What's up a little high? See, there's nothing else up here. 6250. We have customer longs, so we can go there. We have all these customer longs over here. All these customer longs over here. So on top, 6415 or 6400, sure, but there's really no juice up there. I don't think. Yeah, there's really no juice up there. So I I like to sell for the next day. I do that often. So 63.70. Okay. So we got juice. We have three blockers over here, market maker longs. So what about 80? What about 63.80-ish, 75? Again, 80, there's nothing. Let's see what 70 looks like. So, really nothing great over here. Nothing really that thrilling. So I'm doing one for science, but other than that, you see how I'm looking at it? Now, sometimes, a lot of times I do. What about the IC wheel for tomorrow? He ain't going to be there. He took his profits and went. If he loses, he doesn't come back. He comes back next time we have an outside day. Outside day meaning when realized volatility exceeds implied volatility, or we go outside the expected move, which we did yesterday. So he's not going to be back tomorrow. Or at least I'm 99% sure he's not. Although, do I see anything that looks like his footprint? Not really. So what we got going on at 63.50? They got a lot of action there. It's a lot of back and forth. So obviously we have some sold calls there at 63.50. Okay, so that other put filled. This gets hard with the overnight risk with Trump. You never know what he's going to say. Oh, we have AMD and all that stuff too, but that's not till 4 o'clock. Skyworks Solutions up 9%. Rivian down 3%. Uh, Skyworks Solutions. Look at that. Used to own that. Not for having for a long time. Log scale, time axis to the right. Apply. Okay. All right. So we'll see what AMD does. All right, I'm gonna have to go. I got to prepare for another meeting. So I'm gonna sign off now and see you tomorrow. And I put the link in. Scott Nations is going to be my guest tomorrow. And we'll try and have guests every Wednesday at noon. We'll see if I can work that out. And that's it. Hope everybody had a good day. You're welcome, Sammy.